Hey everyone, welcome back to the Dental Domination Podcast. My name is Dan Brian. I am the host of this crazy old thing and also the co-founder over at DentalScapes. We're an online marketing company specifically for dental practices. And dental is all we talk about here. Specifically, we're focused on practice management, marketing, and patient experience. And today I've got a really cool topic lined up, I think, with a great special guest. Dr. Shervin Molayem is here to talk about AI in dentistry and how AI is transforming the practice pretty much everywhere you look. And I think if we, fast forward a year or two from now, we're going to look back on this episode as relatively prescient, as I think a lot of the things that maybe we take for granted in the practice of dentistry are going to look a lot different in the relative near future. So anyhow, with that being said, I wanted to turn it over to you, Dr. Molayem. You are a practicing periodontist. In addition to being a serial entrepreneur within the dental tech space, you are the co-founder of multiple ventures, and you've got some pretty excited things lined up coming out this year. So what can you tell us more, tell our listeners about who you are, how you got involved in dentistry, but not only that, how you got involved in dental tech and AI specifically?
Yeah, well, it's been about like 5 years that I really got into dental technology. Really, as a periodontist, you're looking at the foundation of the mouth. Research is a really big part of my practice in general, just my training. And when you're in the research realm, you're able to kind of see the trends and things that are coming out and the direction. To this day, I've been practicing for 15 years, and the amount of change that we've seen in the past year or two is mind-boggling. Your viewers are probably seeing it themselves. They're seeing advertisements. They're hearing the word AI everywhere. There are some different silos and different products coming out that are doing different things that are all kind of different, and some integrate with each other and some don't. But what we're going to be seeing in AI as far as dentistry is a transformation of the workflow from A to Z.
It's going to touch all facets of practice.
Yeah.
So, as far as your own experience, what sort of, led you into dental tech and got you involved in this space?
When really COVID, when that came about, a little bit before that, I started to get involved in teledentistry, actually before COVID, which was kind of timely. Then working with founders and investing in dental startups, and really being a risk taker and trying to figure out what the next thing is and how this relates to dentists is we're trying to figure out the pain points of dentistry. So another thing that I got involved with was cloud dentistry, which is a dental staffing platform. So before you ask the dentist, what's the problem with your practice, they're like, oh my god, I'm trying to find a hygienist, trying to find a dentist.
Always staffing.
Like, and then it's like, okay, what are you doing? "I'm going on Craigslist, I'm Indeed." And if you look at other fields like medicine and really all areas of healthcare, you'll see that they've had this platform, they have this organized. And so with cloud dentistry, which is now the largest and fastest growing dental staffing platform, really the past three years have really taken off. We're able to match right there in the app. Look, it's kind of where like a Uber meets LinkedIn, where people
Yeah.
could just book right away. And I've seen the transformation and how easy it is, and people could just go and scroll and see ratings. And so, and I'm just kind of going through the flow of dentistry, like what else is a pain point? Well, you start with the hygienist. What's their like, and they are probing, and they're wearing gloves while they're probing, but they have to read out these numbers, and they can't write it down, and they can't type and probe at the same time. They have to get a dental assistant. That takes time if there's one available. If not, they have to just, so there's all these different, challenges. So I also got involved with the company that is coming out with a probe using AI technology that could automatically, you just put the probe around the pocket and it'll just automatically input the number because it has these, sensors and cameras, and it'll know exactly at what pressure, right? Because right now also dentistry is very subjective.
Very subjective, correct.
So with AI, we're able to make it more objective. So another technology is mobility, to figure out what the tooth mobility is. Like, is it +1? Is it +2? Is it +3 mobility? That's pretty subjective. But what if there is a technology that could send a sound wave down to the tooth and see what bounces back and know exactly 1 out of 100 what that mobility number is. And what was it last time? What was it before the scaling and replaning? What is it after? So we're going to be able to predict better and make better decisions, which is going to help overall patient care.
Yeah. Now, all of these advancements in technology and AI are amazing. And I think I'm with you and on the same page where I think it's really going to enhance and not replace dentists going forward and actually make practice better for both providers and patients. But what would you say to, maybe a long established dentist who's looking at these changes and the way they may affect workflows in the future and thinking, this stuff makes me nervous. I mean, how would you counter that sentiment?
Yeah. So long-standing dentists is probably, they're getting older. Maybe their eyes aren't, although their experience is better, their eye might not be able to see as good. And the amount of shades of gray that our eyes are able to see is exponentially less than what an AI can see. The AI can see like 250 something shades of gray, where they're being able to look at the radiograph and with accuracy of 50% diagnosis of catching things versus being in the 90s. So that's a big jump. Like in technology, if you're going to just be a little bit better, it's hard to get adoption. But if you're going to almost double the amount of detection,
Yeah.
offices are able to diagnose 30 something percent more pathology on x-rays. Now these aren't small numbers.
No. Yeah. So, as you look at some of the technology that's out there now relative to AI, and setting aside for a moment the amazing things you're doing with the new perio probe and some of these other technologies, what do you see that's out there right now that's making the biggest splash for you, that you're most excited about in terms of its potential to transform workflows for folks right now?
So what we're working on right now with a company called Trust AI
Hmm.
is we're looking to bring trust into dentistry. And what that means is patients, they go to the office, they don't know what really is going on in their mouth, right? Unless they have pain. And so they don't know if they have 5 cavities, if they have 10, if they should take out this tooth or not. There's so much that they don't understand. And they're basically trying to just, trust the dentist's word. Sometimes it's correct and sometimes it's not. That's why you see a social media post, something that has to do with dentistry, and you look down in the comments and you're saying all these angry patients, my dentist told me that, my dentist charged me that. And then there's a study uh, of a patient in New York that took their treatment plan to 10 different or so dentists, and they got 10 different treatment plans, ranging anywhere from 0 to 100,000. Well, it's time for that number of treatment plans to be maybe 3 or maybe 4 treatment plans. Maybe you have an aggressive one, a band-aid approach, something that's conservative, and somewhere around there. There shouldn't be so many. So if we're able to bring the diagnosis and then the treatment plan and standardize it, go back to the basics, is the data collection. So that probe, that X-ray, now they have 3D detection. They got FDA approved. So if you're able to have AI to analyze the data collection, and then that, the probe has a pressure sensor. And so then you have this AI, like Trust AI, which is like the brain of the dental office that can analyze it. Then you're going to have more specific plans, more precise, more accurate, more objective, and patients will trust dentists more. And as a result, they're going to want to do dentistry more.
Do you foresee a world where, a dentist becomes, I don't know what the word of it is, but sort of an intermediary in communicating the treatment plan of the AI technology? Or is this a really collaborative approach in your?
Yeah, the AI will, I wouldn't say never replace. They work hand in hand. They augment the dentist. They enhance the dentist. They're making things more efficient. They're making dentists faster, smarter, and really that's gonna make dentists' life less stressful. So, all of this will eventually, end up to be like a robot that people are talking about that are they coming to dentistry? Well, they will. They will. There's a
And you actually have a connection to, I think, Perceptive that's doing a lot within that space, right?
Yeah, yeah. So, we're close with the CEO, and he's a dentist by trade. Their company is amazing. They are, they have like 15 MIT PhDs working for them.
Yeah.
they also invented a new type of scan that uses a technology called OCT. Is non-ionizing radiation, so it's not like taking X-rays, and it could figure out exactly where, in 3 dimensions, where the caries is. Where right now we don't have that. Right now we have a 2D X-ray. It takes 30% of on an X-ray of um, you know uh, demineralization, right? Of that to be caught. Like if there's a radiolucency, it takes time for that to show up. Where this is to the micron almost, where it can
But
figure out
imagine 3D scan is going to be critical for the actual robotic procedure then.
exactly. And they had to invent that to do the robotics. It wouldn't be possible without it.
Right. And now they've entered some kind of trial now, haven't they? Or where is that at? I mean, how soon might we be looking at robotics in, your dental practice on
Yeah.
the corner?
Yeah, we're looking at 2028.
Wow. Okay.
The scanner is coming out next year in 2026.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any sense right now as to when, AI robotic powered dentistry might be, financially or economically accessible to most practice owners?
Yeah. So, for example, Perceptive, with that company, you don't need to buy the robot. You lease it,
Okay.
and so it's going to be very, easily available, where you could just pay, a few $1,000s a month for the scanner, a few $1,000s a month for the robot.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, and if you're not using it, and it's not working for you, you could return it,
Yeah.
and you're not stuck with this big, heavy expense.
Yeah, and now a lot of this is really, for lack of a better word, the wild, wild west of dentistry, at least right now. But like you said, in 2 years, maybe 2028, we'll be looking at something completely different. And our perceptions, speaking of perceptive, they're going to shift over time. But that said, what is the role of the regulatory environment in all of this? Do you see, dental boards? Do you see the government? Do you see, state regulatory bodies catching on to this stuff, or are we in a situation where they're going to have to catch up pretty damn quick?
Yeah. Everything takes time. So if you look at, for example, Bitcoin, you saw how much, 10 years ago, people laughed, and people, look at it now. If you look at self-driving cars, laughed at it. Like, I would never get in a car. Now you see cars driving on the street. I live in Los Angeles. You have Waymo. Now you have Tesla coming out in Austin, self-driving, and you're like, hey, actually, that I'm safer there. So, like with Perceptive, if you move during the procedure, it moves with the patient.
Yeah, that's amazing. Now, your own experience, working with the many ventures that you have within dental tech and the AI driven space, this perio probe, for instance, what's been your experience like in terms of getting, regulatory approval on these types of things to use in practice? Are you at all concerned about that down the line, or you think these regulatory agencies will catch up to the
Yeah,
new?
yeah, they'll catch up. It'll take a little bit of more time, perhaps, but uh, it's not hard to do like an FDA study to show periodontal probing. So that one has a pressure. It's going to be, a couple people doing it and then comparing it to freehand, and the robot. I mean, let's go to before the robot, because that's the last step. Then you have the diagnosis and treatment plan, which is what Trust AI is, right? The Trust AI is really tackling. And for that, you're going to need a lot of cases. It could be full mouth reconstruction cases where, and the more data that's put into this. So right now, you go to an office, there's one dentist, one brain, and all their experience. But what if you have 1,000?
Be amazing.
So you're getting an 1,000th opinion,
Yeah.
right? So, and then it kind of averages it out. But what we do was two things that are really unique. One, we have a trust score. We believe that nothing in life is 100%, as
Mhm.
you probably can agree. So
Well, I
I'll
agree
recommend,
with I agree with 99% of that.
yeah, yeah. What the taxes and death? Is that what you're gonna say? I was listening to a podcast recently with Brian Johnson, and he's saying in the year 20, in 100 years from now, he wants to be the person that was in the history book saying, showing that to not be the case. So you never know either. Um, uh, the longevity experts, the futurists like Raymond, I forget his last name. He talks about in the year 2030, we're going to have something called escape velocity, where people are going to start living perhaps forever. Obviously, you'll start with the wealthy, the ones that are doing all of the blood transfusions and this and that. But AI is able to pick up research is going to be much more quick. Research is going to be on the blockchain.
Yeah.
The researchers aren't going to be able to fudge numbers as much because of that. So we'll
Now,
get to the truth more.
these AI technologies, that most folks now are accustomed to, or at least many are using now, ChatGPT. I couldn't personally live without it now. You may be the same way. But these, they're called large language models, and essentially they just intake a ton of data and they're trained on that. They're constantly training and evolving, and they're getting this knowledge from just an infinite source of data. What is the data right now, that will inform, say, this robotic technology by Perceptive, and will inform the treatment planning technologies like at Trust AI? Like, where are you sourcing that data right now?
Yeah. So from actual patient cases,
Mm-hmm.
you need, a lot of cases, you need the patients to sign off on it, which is not easy. And you need thousands of cases. So that's, really the tough part.
Yeah.
And for example, you say, okay, well, the schools are a good place. Well, the way that dentistry is done in schools is not exactly always, you would think it's the correct way, which maybe it's like the textbook way, but it's also maybe not the practical way, right? So you need different data sources. Can't just be one. It has to be multiple. Maybe the East Coast dentists practice different than the West Coast, and maybe the ones in England do it different than the ones in Canada. So eventually you're going to need different data sources to be able to make it more unified.
Absolutely. Yeah. Uh, one other thing before we close out here that I think is so interesting that you voiced offline here was about the impact that AI and dental technology may have in terms of the conversation about the oral systemic connection. What did you mean by that? And where do you see that?
Yeah, so I'm really big on the oral systemic connection. And that's really near and dear to my heart as a periodontist.
Absolutely.
Now, what that means for AI is it means that we're going to be able to, for example, what we right now are able to do is take the different data sources or when the patient is getting data collection, we're going to have, again, objective data from FMX, BCT, periodontal charting, medical dental history,
Yeah.
and we're going to get enough, we'll have blood tests and genetic tests.
Yeah.
And that will be now tied into the mouth. So we'll know, particularly for that person, if they have the IL-6 gene is a high risk, and you get one from each parent. Those people have higher risk for getting periodontal disease. Now, if they have that, then we do a saliva test now, and we have that data that they have you know P. gingivalis and Fusobacterium nucleatum, and they're at this level, and they're on these medications which are drying their mouth,
Yeah.
and their CBCT is showing their airway is narrow. So, or their nose, they can't breathe well because they have a deviated septum, which will show up on a CBCT. Well, now they're mouth breathing at night.
Yeah.
So all of these, and because they're doing that, perhaps they're grinding their teeth and clenching their teeth. And now that's putting too much force. So maybe an implant in this area shouldn't be a 4 millimeter diameter, it should be a 5 millimeter diameter. But you know what? They're 90-year-old lady. We can get away with a smaller one for that person. So now we're going to be able to take all this information, gender, age, medical dental history, right? And I'll put it all together. And then, if they have diabetes, if they have low vitamin D levels, that also affects their healing.
Yeah.
So they may have to take some extra vitamins after a procedure so they heal better. I can go on and on, but we're going to have this, these different, really amazing, it's going to be a whole new set of research and information that's also going to be coming up.
It is amazing. I'm also big on the oral systemic connection. It's something I think is so important and often so overlooked. And, also big into dental medical integration. And I think that there's a lot of opportunity here for, this technology and AI to move the needle on that, because as you and I both know, it's taken a while to get to even where we are today. And so hopefully this will only accelerate that movement as well. So lots of cool stuff on the horizon, lots to look forward to, I think. And I agree with you that I don't think dentists out there should be afraid of being replaced. I don't think that's what's at hand here at all. I think you're right that AI will enhance, not replace dentists, increase trust. I hope you're right
Hmm.
about that. The work that you're doing at Trust AI, I think, is so important. And I think it really does have the opportunity to shift the way that patients perceive their own care and the importance of oral health care. And again, its connection to systemic conditions. So I'm really excited about the work that you're doing, Dr. Shervin. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Before we close out, though, what is the biggest takeaway you want dentists listening to the show today to leave with? And then finally, if I can ask a second question, where can folks connect with you if they want to learn more?
Yeah. So the most important thing right now is because there's information overload and people are getting bombarded, right? So what came out into the actual, general public first with AI was ChatGPT, and that's how people got introduced to it. So I would start with a ChatGPT like, thing if I were a dentist. And so we actually put out with Trust AI, we a free 100% free chat where a dentist could ask any question and get an answer without it hallucinating. So we designed it so that it won't give wrong information. And so we compared it to ChatGPT, and we see it's more accurate, and it doesn't give out wrong information, which is important in healthcare,
Yeah.
especially dentistry. So that's where I would start. Then they're going to be able to take an X-ray and upload it, and then have a conversation. So it's not the thing is it's not about putting the information and getting it spit out. Thank you so much, and telling the patient. Well,
Right.
we created a co-pilot. So we put in information just like ChatGPT. After you upload a PDF, you upload things. Now it understands it, and now you have the conversation with it. And so that's where you want to, we have a voice conversation. You could type it out, but that's where it's at. It's you want a thinking partner, and in a decision, you don't want a decision maker. You want a thinking partner, a co-pilot.
Yeah, and so now this tool, is this something folks can find on the Trust AI website, and where would folks be able to connect?
Yeah. So they can just go on trustdentistry.ai. Then they can, takes 1 second, put your email, phone number, and boom, you get it for free.
Awesome. Sounds good. We'll definitely include that in the show notes so folks can check that out. Anything else that you would say? Any other opportunities to connect with you? I imagine you're on LinkedIn and folks can find you that way. Are you going to be doing any public speaking anytime soon? Folks can get out and hear
Yeah,
you in person?
actually, there looks like I'm gonna be on a TED Talk talking about this,
That's
TEDx.
awesome.
So yeah, I'm excited about that. It's gonna happen hopefully in the next 6 months. But um, the I think people, everyone has a dentist, everyone, has teeth. So everyone knows that this is like a problem in dentistry as far as the general public, and they're looking for something like this to help the industry.
Yeah, 100%. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Shervin, for joining us today. I really appreciate it. I'm sure that everyone out there got some great value out of it, as I did as well. To that end, if you enjoyed what you heard today on the podcast, please take a moment and give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you get this show. It is the best possible way for us to reach other dentists and practice administrators out there and help other folks. So thank you so much. And to you, Dr. Shervin, thank you. I can't thank you enough for coming on today.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it, Dan. All
Take
right,
care.
take care. All right, bye, everyone.